Today I'm going to discuss one of Neville Goddard's lectures called Thinking Fourth Dimensionally, in which he goes into detail on how to actually occupy your desired state or the parallel reality of your choice in your consciousness and make that state or reality visible to you or externalized on the screen of space. So I'm going to start this video with the following quote by Neville Goddard. All changes take place in consciousness. The future, although prepared in every detail in advance, has several outcomes. At every moment of our lives, we have before us the choice of which of several futures we will choose. So what this means is that there already exists an infinite number of parallel realities, states or futures right now. All of them exist simultaneously. So basically, we are never creating anything new, but rather we are simply becoming aware of that which already exists. So anything that you can see in your mind's eye or anything you can imagine already exists in its invisible form. It exists because you can see it clearly in your mind's eye. If it did not exist at all, you would not be able to perceive it or sense it in your imagination. It doesn't feel real to you because you cannot physically see it, hear it, touch it, smell it, or taste it. But nevertheless, it is real. Any state imagined is real, and it already exists. So to make any state of your choice visible to your senses, you need to mentally feel into it as if it's already here, right in front of you, right now. Because in that version of the reality, you already have what you want. Here is the quote by Neville Goddard, which proves the existence of any invisible state or parallel reality of your choice. It actually proves that anything that you can imagine already exists in its invisible form. And if you could only become aware of already possessing that which you can see in your imagination, the invisible becomes visible. And this is how you make the visible that which you already have or that which already existed but was previously invisible to you. Many persons, myself included, have observed events before they occurred, that is, before they occurred in this world of three dimensions. Since man can observe an event before it occurs in the three dimensions of space, life on Earth must proceed according to plan, and this plan must exist elsewhere and be slowly moving through our space. If the occurring events were not in this world when they were observed, then to be perfectly logical, they must have been out of this world. And whatever is there to be seen before it occurs here must be predetermined from the point of view of man awake in a three-dimensional world. So, for example, I'm sure many of you, myself included, have experienced prophetic dreams which end up happening or materializing in these three dimensions of space. So then question arises, how can you see the future that has not happened yet in these three dimensions of space? So then it makes perfect sense that it must already exist somewhere in its invisible form before it occurs here in three dimensions of space. So the future that we think has not happened yet has actually already happened, or it already exists. And this is why we can see it clearly in our imagination. And although you cannot physically see your desired state, but you can mentally sense it in your imagination. And because you can mentally perceive it or feel it in your imagination, we can come to a conclusion that it already exists in its invisible form. You see, you cannot perceive something that does not already exist. So this is what Neville is saying. There are two actual outlooks on the world possessed by everyone: a natural focus and a spiritual focus. The ancient teachers called the one the carnal mind and the other the mind of Christ. We may differentiate them as ordinary waking consciousness governed by our senses and a controlled imagination governed by desire. The natural view confines reality to the moment called now. To the natural view, the past and future are purely imaginary. The spiritual view, on the other hand, sees the contents of time. It sees events as distinct and separated, as objects in space. The past and future are a present whole to the spiritual view. What is mental and subjective to the natural man is concrete and objective to the spiritual man. So what this means is that to our natural mind or our rational mind, the past is in the past and the future is in the future or has not happened yet. Whereas to the spiritual mind or to the mind of Christ, the past and the future exist simultaneously right now. The habit of seeing only that which our senses permit renders us totally blind to what we otherwise could see. To cultivate the faculty of seeing the invisible, we should often deliberately disentangle our minds from the evidence of the senses and focus our attention on an invisible state, mentally feeling it and sensing it until it has all the distinctness of reality. Earnest, concentrated thought, focused in a particular direction, shuts out other sensations and causes them to disappear. We have but to concentrate on the state desired in order to see it. The habit of withdrawing attention from the region of sensation and concentrating it on the invisible develops our spiritual outlook and enables us to penetrate beyond the world of sense and to see that which is invisible. So if you spend a few minutes every day in withdrawing your attention from the evidence of your senses, and instead begin concentrating it on an invisible state or parallel reality of your choice, by mentally feeling and sensing the reality of that invisible state, and remain faithful to that invisible state or reality, what's going to happen is that in time, that state will be externalized on the screen of space, or it will become your objective reality.